Based on,
It's based on all fifth graders who came back from the summer.
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have, do you guys have questions or something? I feel like I'm distracted by what's going on over there.
Well, no, I just didn't think Mawson had.
Yeah, we don't use
report.
it in the grade
Yeah.
screen, so we don't have.
Oh, you don't? What do you use for universal maps?
We use Fontes and Penelope.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so that's what this particular report is telling you. Now, I'm looking at this at the district level now. Okay, so this is all of their fifth graders at the district. So one of the things that we talked about was, okay, so if we start at the district level and we're looking at the big picture, then we can kind of go in and kind of drill down, well, where are the specific schools then that are having problems? So, can you guys have district access at yours? Do you have district level access? Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you want to start with district so you can follow with me? Sure. Yeah, so just go back. And then you're going to click on the district tab right here.
Like just look where it says page register.
Yep, so if you click on that
Oh,
way
yeah.
back button at the top.
One, four,
Let's see, you are looking.
I wish I would have brought my iPad.
No, but it's at the district, yeah, yours right here. Move it. Look at that. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
What grade is that? Is that
Fifth grade?
Fifth grade?
Sixth grade. That is lovely data.
Oh, you have pretty data.
They have pretty data. All right, so we started here. We got an idea of where are we at in terms of looking at those success probabilities and those tiered instructional pieces. So then we could go in and click on compare schools, and then we can kind of see, well, are all of our schools making these kinds of gains? And again, I'm in last year's data, okay? All right, now this is looking at the winter.
No, you pulled up a different graph.
That's the
I
second
did.
one next to the.
Yep.
I want to see something real quick, though, because I want to look at, real quick, this is what I want to see. Okay. So if I'm back here at the district tab, all right, so I just looked at the, oh, I'm so sorry.
That's right.
I just looked at the first one, the tier transition. Comparing schools will only allow you to look at one time frame at a time. So I'm really going to go to compare grade first because it's last year's data. I want to kind of see this movement over time because I want to kind of demonstrate how you can look at those box and whiskers. So I'm going to compare by grade. All right. So this is looking at fifth grade specifically. And now the comparison, always read your filter up here, okay? Because you got to know who you're comparing them to. So this is looking at the entire district, all right? And then these are your different schools. You know, guys, how they have this many schools, 4 schools for fifth grade?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure that's correct. So we can kind of see who's the school. What's the school?
Old Oxford.
I'm assuming they probably are not using this correctly because the data never changes. From fall, winter,
Using
spring.
what correctly?
Anything with James Webb. Is this, are they? We'll
Do
go
I have
back
that
and look at
right?
their
Am I
data.
looking at that right, Brenda? That's Oxford Elementary?
Do you see though that it's not changing at all? Like it's
Yep.
exactly the same data? So,
So what aren't they using right?
well, I'm not sure that they're even using, like, if
Their
they're just,
progress monitoring if they're doing anything.
because the data is exactly
There's
the
no
same.
data.
So I'm wondering if they're just putting in the same scores, because it's exactly the same. I mean, that's very unusual for fall, winter, for an entire year. There's no movement at all. Like, this is identical.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's interesting.
So we might want to go back and look at that one, at that particular school. There's something kind of wacky going on there.
So what questions do you, see, this is where I struggle with. I don't know then what question, maybe Brenda does, but what questions then do you go back and ask the,
I'm looking at all your data. Hold on. Everybody looks the same. What's going on here? Do y'all notice that everybody looks the same?
well, it looks
No.
like comparison went up.
No.
But the
your
grade is the
district
same, you're
definitely
right.
Changing.
It is the same, Brenda. Look at, all 3 are the same. The grade, Coloma, Oxford,
Ours are
and,
the same here too, like these three are the same. I'm wondering if the data,
oh, thank God.
Say it again. Say it again.
It's an Ames weather.
Thank you.
Oh, God, my heart's in my toes right now.
I don't know, is this just the benchmarks? It's not the progress monitoring?
This is just the benchmarks.
Oh, God.
It's just the
This
benchmarks.
is 2 grades.
My blood pressure went up in the whole bit.
Hold on. Let
Is
me
it
go to my.
something with the expand?
It's I think it's probably just something with this software, to be honest with you.
Thank God.
Yeah. You know, they're coming out with 2.0 and they're doing a bunch of stuff and likely it's affecting the server here. Sorry, guys. No,
No,
how many
that's-
times have you logged into AimsWeb and you looked at the data and you went, wait a minute, it didn't look like that 30 seconds ago. And you think, I'm going crazy. You're not. It's
Doesn't
probably
have to be,
AimsWeb.
but- And that's, you know, what I was gonna ask is that, what the key that I believe that I am missing is that when I look at a graph, I'm not exactly sure of the questions to be asking.
Okay, yeah, got it.
You know, so for example, if that wasn't an Ames issue, it's a district issue, how do you go back and have a conversation with the principal or the title? What do you then say? Because I'm certain if we went back to a person and said, hey, look at all this data is the same, they would be just as shocked as we were.
Right, right. The likelihood is that that's not going to happen if you guys are actually doing it. That would only be the case where sometimes schools who are kind of forced into using AimsWeb against their will. I really have had this happen. I've had a school that just went in and just put the same data in for fall, winter, and spring.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that would be the only scenario where that would actually happen.
Gotcha, okay.
So when I saw that, I was like, and then when I noticed that all of them are like that, and then they're a completely different account, and theirs are doing that,
Thank God.
that's an AimsWeb issue. That's
Right.
not a you guys issue.
Right.
Yay, Duff.
We went and looked at the
Yeah.
data, like for one class.
Yeah.
To see if it was
Yeah.
entered for all three. The date is the same on all three benchmarks for our school. I don't know if the person who entered it last year ever changed, but it's all the January, it would be all the fall date. So.
Let me look at my training account and see if it's kind of screwing up on my training account, because then that's going to tell me that just may be a glitch in the system. So give me 1 second. Let me look at this. We're going to look at the district, and we're going to look at reading. Sorry, don't you love when you go to a training and you're like, oh, it's a software issue? That's my favorite, actually. Sorry, guys. I hate that.
It's still good for me though to watch. I'm still learning how to maneuver within the AimsWeb system.
It is a big learning
Oh
curve.
Lord,
It's huge.
And then I hit the wrong back button and
And there's so many
reports.
reports, it's overwhelming.
Yep.
I mean, I love data, and it's overwhelming for me.
I like data too, but yeah,
It's nauseating. I always tell people pick 2, maybe 3 reports that speak to you.
good point.
When
yeah.
when those stop answering all your questions, then go back in and dig. But for the most part, all of these reports tell you about the same thing.
Good point.
They're just a few, like 2 or 3 unique reports. The
love
rest
that
of it is just,
triangle one.
yeah, it's just a different way to look at the data. Okay. All right.
They're the same. Thank God.
Yeah. So it's the same in my training account as well. So, where did you go to look at the? You went.
We went to last year, just where we had entered the benchmark data. And, the dates are different now that we went and re-looked at it. Because what I was looking at the top, which would be today's date, like. if
Right,
I
yeah.
added the data.
Sure.
But it did, and I just looked in one class,
Yeah.
just to see, because we were concerned about if we were entering our data correctly, and if it was all there from last year.
It's not a y'all issue. It's an AimsWeb issue because my training account is screwed up as well. So that stinks because I really wanted to kind of show you, but I'll just have to kind of
Do you think that we could look at old data, because we might have some happier?
Absolutely.
I don't know how to.
Yep.
find
So
that.
at the top, you see that there's a date in blue. I see it was this 2013,
Okay.
Oh God. And that's going to be all your historical years.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thanks.
Yeah, you bet. All right, so what I really wanted to demonstrate to you guys was just how you can look at this when you're comparing schools at the district level, to see kind of, again, all about allocating resources. So which schools are really going to need the majority of our energy and our monies, right? So when we're looking at this, and I like to look at this particular one by grade level because I like to see over time. And the reason for that is because I want to see how these box and whiskers are moving. Because sometimes what happens is when we go in and we may have a really strong core curriculum, but it's really only serving the top half of our students, right? So what you'll see then is you'll see that, this box will just get, it's kind of like this, it'll get wider, right? It'll just get taller, okay? But the bottom of the box just kind of stays at the same level. Does that make sense? So that just kind of tells me that, hey, I need to find something that's going to dip down. Maybe I need to supplement my core instruction with, some curriculums if you're using, or you guys, what are you using for your curriculum? So usually they have a tier 3 component to it. Some people just don't utilize it, but that might be something that you use. What do you guys use for reading?
We use the treasure and
Treasures?
we
And the
use
tier
the
three?
Triumph intervention series.
Okay, perfect.
For tier 3.
So that would be something that you guys would look at. And then also though, we want to look at the spread in scores. So let's make sure we all know what we're looking at with box and whiskers. So the box, think of a bell curve, right? It's a bell curve turned on its side, is all it is. So the box is the hump, right? So this is my middle 50%. If you want to know percentile breakdown, it breaks it down from the 25th to the 75th percentile. That's your box, okay? And then this little line within the box is your median. So half fall above, half fall below. And I'm not trying to simplify this, but I never want to assume, that we all are kind of thinking the same things. So, and then the top whisker, this is your above average range. And percentile-wise, it ranges from the 76th to the 90th percentile. And then the bottom whisker is from about the 24th to the 10th percentile. And that's all it shows us, from the 10th to the 90th. All right. So when I'm looking at this and I see pretty large spread in scores, like look at this bottom whisker here, right? See how far down it dips. All this is really telling me the how far out the box is stretched or the whiskers are stretched is telling me how much differentiation I need.
So how do I even ask this question?
Mm-hmm.
So there are kids that are in the blue and the orange, that's what makes them small or large?
Yeah, so let's talk, okay, so
Does that make sense,
It
my
does.
question?
Smaller, large?
it does. Because this is the range in scores. That's all it's telling you is the range in scores of your average range, your above average, your below average.
For that classroom,
For that's grade level at your
or grade
district.
level, right.
So
yep.
at 5th grade in the fall, at your district level, your average range was roughly about, let's say, 97 to about 150.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if I had
Green
a,
is what you're looking at.
Yep.
To give them, okay.
so if I had a 5th grade student move in the fall of the year and I tested them and they scored 100, then I know based on this, that's in the average range. They're average compared to other 5th graders at my district. Does that make sense?
Gotcha, yeah.
And the same thing with the top whisker and the bottom whisker. So that range then is really helping you to understand how much differentiation you need, right?
But when you're looking at that thicker line is the target.
That's the target.
But we have, if you're looking at that, there's more kids above the target than there is below the target.
That's what you want.
Right.
So when you're,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
And the target's what? That's probably a stupid question.
No, it's not.
but-
It's a great question. So you remember when we talked about the tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3?
Mm-hmm.
The cut score at tier 1, remember I told you it was around the 45th percentile?
Mhm.
It's the very same thing as the target.
Gotcha.
So this represents around the 45th percentile nationally, and this is that 80% probability of success.
Okay.
Now, that's for those 4 measures I talked about. When we look at test of early literacy or test of early numeracy, these targets are based around the 35th percentile. All right. So that's really all we're kind of wanting you to see here, that when you look at this movement, so ideally when you're looking at this from the district level, you want to see this median above that target line, because that's telling you at least over 50% of your students are where you want them to be by time of year, right? So then I'm looking at this growth over time because for whatever reason, interestingly enough, it's actually showing me the right data for your district. I'm looking to see, is it? Yeah, it is. So I'm looking to see how you guys are kind of growing, and you're kind of staying about, the same, right?
Well, this is your data, not ours.
Oh, this is my training account data.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Got it.
Hmm.
It looks very similar, though. Maybe not. Anyway, let me go to your data then, because I want to see real data, not fake data. Ah, now that makes more sense, because I was thinking about your triangle, I was like, that doesn't really make sense, so thank you. So we can see here, look at how we're moving over time. Oh, this is like when the angels come out with the trumpets. Oh, this is lovely. This is lovely. So really,
That's lovely for that's district,
it's district. And unfortunately, we can't look at your individual student or schools, but maybe we can get into your school data.
But then
show
why,
us.
no, just back up for,
Uh-huh.
I was trying to match up those colors with Oxford
Uh-huh.
West. The colors over there then don't match up with the graph.
Okay, so this is the school.
Yep, Pluma.
So the only thing they change is just the color of the box.
I'm sorry, that was a dumb question,
It's
because
okay.
it's overall school.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The
That's
dark
okay.
green is what we're looking at overall.
Yeah, so this is
Everybody.
your entire district, and then these are the 3 schools represented here, and one of them is missing. This brown one here is missing.
Middle school.
That's a middle school, which
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
have 5th grade.
Got it. Yep, there you go. So we're just looking at, and really your spread in scores is pretty consistent. It starts to kind of spread a little bit in winter time, but it starts to kind of pop up. But look at, look at the movement. Okay, so we still have students who are below the target, right? But the nice thing is that look at where they started.